Hello everyone, my name is Sarah. I'm a co-facilitator at DAREarts, and today in this video I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can make your zine. To demonstrate what can be done with different kinds of materials, I'm going to make 3 different kinds of zines for you today. First, I'll show you how to make a one-page mini zine. This is arguably the most accessible kind of zine because it only uses one piece of paper. Second, I'll show you how to make a zine with printer paper, aka letter. You'll likely know this size to be normal paper in Canada and the US. Last, I'll show you how to make a zine from only found materials. Because you'll have different stuff in your house, what I'll make won't be exactly the same as what you'll make, obviously, but I think an example is all you'll need to figure out how the stuff you find can actually be turned into a zine. So, the first thing we're going to do is work on our one-page mini zine. So this zine has 8 pages, including the cover and the back. The first thing I'm going to do is fold this guy up so I can tell what's going where. So, let's see if I can remember how to do this without looking it up. Fold it hot dog style. And then, I guess that's hamburger. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's totally okay. So then, we have a piece of paper with 8 imperfect but totally usable sections. Eventually, we're going to cut a slit right here, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. The first thing I'm going to do is write the page numbers in pencil so that I don't get confused about what goes where. So this is the first one, and then we kind of jump up here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then around again, 6, 7, 8. 1 is going to be our the front of our zine, and 8 is going to be back. Now we create our content. Okay, so what we have here is the final zine. Obviously it still just looks like one piece of paper, because it is. That is the beauty of it. What we're going to do now is we're going to cut this crease here. To make this easier for myself, I'm going to get a surface that I am comfortable cutting on. Obviously it's going to go through the piece of paper and maybe mark my desk, and that is not ideal. What I'm going to do is use this macaroni and cheese box. It's pretty thin, but I'm going to risk it. So I'm just going to cut from here to here, one straight line. You know what? And actually, if you had a ruler, you could put a ruler there. Do I have a ruler? No, I'm going to freehand it, but you could put a ruler here to help. Oh my gosh, this is so much pressure. Oh! You can already tell it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay with me, if it's okay with you. This is how we began our zine. We're going to flip it over and fold it in half this way. Then we're going to rotate and spread these pages out like this and fold again. So then we have this funny shape, but we can press down like this, press down like this. Oh, it just so happens that this is the front, and then we have it. This is our zine. So this is page 1, or the cover, page 2 and 3, page 4 and 5, page 6 and 7, and then page 8, or the back. I was just kind of doing whatever I felt like doing. I really like working with pencil crayons, so I work with pencil crayons, but you can use this technique for anything. So let your imagination run wild. The nice thing about this particular format is not only that it only uses one piece of paper, but that if you want to make copies of it, you can do that just by opening it back up again and then photocopying this one side, and then you'll have lots of copies of this, and you can do the exact same thing where you just cut that slit in the middle. I can't remember how to put it together all the time, but you know what, you'll figure it out. And then boom, there you go. So that's technique number 1 of this video. It is a personal favorite of mine. Let's see what Pip thinks of it. Let's do format number 2. Next, we have a couple pieces of that same kind of paper. 8.5 by 11 printed paper. Let's see what we can do with this. First, I'm going to fold these pages up so they resemble a book. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 pieces of paper here. Fold them in half. Already you can see our zine is starting to form. It's got a cover, 1 spread, 2 spread, 3 spread, 4 spread, 5, and then back. We have 12 pages with which to do something. So I'm not going to worry about the binding for right now. I'm going to take care of that later. Right now I'm just going to make my zine. I have some photos that I just printed out and some writing, so I'm going to cut those up, and instead of just using the pencil crayons on this one, I'm going to show you another way to put your zine together. the final zine. I ended up making a zine that was kind of about my pets. I intended to create a zine that was more about the kinds of things that I've been doing in this time of self-isolation, but I think what most of that is hanging out with my animals. So as you can see, there's some printed photos here, and then the rest of the zine is just handwritten sort of reflections on each of these different lovely creatures, and then a little quote at the end here, and then I've left the back blank. So now that we have our zine, we are going to bind it. So what we're going to do is stitch binding. I need to go get a needle and thread. One second. Here is my big jar of embroidery thread. I think we're gonna do, let's see, what should we do? I like this kind of lilac color, so I'm gonna grab that. Get that ready. I'm gonna get one of these guys out. Needle, thread. Because I'm using embroidery thread, it has 6 strands. So I'm going to split it in half, carefully, patiently, so that I actually have a bit of a thinner thread. I'm going to set that aside. What I'm going to do with my needle now is I'm going to open up to the center spread. You can tell it's the center spread when it's the middle piece of paper here. You want everything to be as even as possible so that the hole coming out the other side is all lined up. And you're going to put 3 holes in this crease here. So the first one's going to go right in the middle. This might be a little bit more difficult if you have more pieces of paper, because then, you know, there will be a little bit more resistance when you're pushing through the paper. If that's the case and you find that it's a bit painful actually to push on the head of the pin, you can just use a thimble. A thimble is like a suit of armor for your finger, and it will protect you from that not so nice sensation. Now we're going to put this, I'm going to say about here. You can totally measure this. I just don't really feel like it. And then from the middle, it's going to be about the same. That's going to go through some of my handwriting. Oops. Now that I have those holes, what I'm going to do is take my thread, thread my needle. Hopefully this doesn't take me a long time. Sometimes it does though, and that's okay. Now I'm going to push my needle through the hole until the thread is stopped by the knot. We now have our knot right in the middle of the zine. And this is on the other side now. So we're gonna go back into the middle of the zine through this top hole that we've already made. And gently pull that through until you see it is pulled taut. Then we're going to go back outside through the seam on the bottom here so that, oops, so that there's one long thread from the top to the bottom hole, and that is pulled taut. And then we're going to go right back into the middle hole there. So it comes out the bottom and then it goes back in the middle hole. So that way you have what almost looks like an uninterrupted seam. So when you pull it out here, we are going to trim this like that. Whoops. Oh gosh. And then the very last thing that we're going to do, just to make sure that this stays kind of as intact as possible, is we're going to have one side. You can actually, you know what, now that I think about it, that knot, you actually don't need to do that at first if you don't want to, but I've done it and that's fine. So I'm going to tie, it's a little bit hard to see, I'll show you in just a minute. I should have left a little bit more thread as well, but this is the process, is that we learn as we go. Okay, that's not perfect, but it's gonna work. So now you can see that the binding is secured with that little knot, and it's all done. So now the zine has some binding and it'll stay together, which is great. So yeah, that is that one. That is a zine made with 8.5 by 11 paper. We have printed some images out here just with our home printer, Sharpie. I have a little blue fountain pen that I did some writing with. And that's kind of it. This is what I was able to gather from my house. I have gathered, first of all, my tools. I legitimately only have packing tape, so I'm going to be using packing tape. Some scissors and just a regular pen. I have 2 security envelopes. They have kind of a cool pattern on the inside that I'm going to make use of. I got a tea box that I think I'm going to open up and use because this is really pretty to me. I have another macaroni box. We like that around here. I have a contract that I was digitizing. It has some neat tea stains on it. Gardening catalog. Thought it might have some cool pictures, and if not, I can use this paper. The last thing that I gathered are these 2 leaves that I have pressed. I got them, I think, a while ago on a walk. Brought them home, put them in a book, and now here they are, nice and flat and dry and ready for being incorporated into a zine. So using these materials, I'm going to, I have no idea where I'm going to start, but I'm going to get creative. So let's get started. So this is the finished zine with only the found materials. Drew a little comic on the front. The pages are from a gardening catalog. The packing tape actually ended up being extremely helpful. There's the tea-stained contract that actually became a little bit more tea-stained during the process, and here's the found leaves. I doodled on a picture from the catalog and added some text here. Pages are sticking together just a little bit. This is from the tea box. I found that actually the inside of the cardboard boxes were really helpful for creating a bit of space in front of the text here so that it's not so busy that you don't really know what to look at. It's still pretty busy. If I wanted it to be a little bit cleaner, one thing I could have done is actually cut instead of tear these, but I like the look of a torn edge. This is advice on where to place a bird feeder that I thought was kind of cute. So I just put that in the middle, the text, and then that's the back. So I really lucked out that the catalog had that big photo of wildflowers right on the front. So yeah, so that's the third and final zine that we've made today. Yeah, and this one's also bound with that binding. It's a little bit crooked, but it works. I think sometimes the charm of zines is how you can tell that it's obviously handmade. So there you have it, 3 different kinds of zines. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and it's given you some ideas for your own projects. use what you have on hand, whether that's cool paper, old magazines, wrappers, dried leaves. See if you enjoy foraging for stuff that you could use. Zine making is about curiosity and resourcefulness, and I know that you can find a creative way to do anything you want to do. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.